Now, with today's hearing, this insurrection probe basically reaches its halfway mark for presentation. Tens of millions of Americans watching an often effective, sometimes riveting set of facts about the criminal mob that stormed the Capitol in a failed effort to stop the certification of Trump's loss. That was the subject of the first hearing, and how Trump then knew he lost and was told by his most senior and loyal aides that he lost, the second hearing. And then today's hearing. Trump knew his January 6th plan was illegal and attempted it anyway. Take that evidence together, premeditation, criminal mindset, and criminal act, we have the case for a felony, the case for indicting Trump. Now, in our coverage tonight, we've heard from legal experts, a committee member, a former impeachment defense lawyer for Donald Trump to report out and analyze these very findings. Now, we turn to some of the possible difficulties or shortcomings in this hearing today, which may have been obvious to millions of viewers and go beyond presentation to the substance and the crimes at the heart of the failed coup. Why did parts of the hearing take something simple and stark? Trump ordered an illegal coup, and make it sound like a legalistic, bureaucratic, or possibly debatable matter.
It would be a digression. That single sentence is not inartfully written. Statutorily prescribed day for counting the Electoral College votes, not merely procedural, authority officially certified to the Congress pursuant to the Electoral Count Act of 1887. That was long-winded, I understand.
The point here is not whether some witnesses were dry. That can be fine. The point is, with 1,000 witnesses interviewed, much incriminating evidence to choose from, with all of that, today's hearing spent a lot of energy dissecting Trump's illegal order as some kind of history seminar. Now, pause. I always try to keep it real with you. There are some complexities here, but today, with this evidence, you don't need a history book, let alone the Electoral Count Act, let alone footnotes about the 12th Amendment to prove this part of the case. It went down in public. Trump issued an illegal order to Pence to steal the election on the 6th. People know about that. People know Pence refused. Indeed, while there are basic facts that are debated on this very insurrection topic, this is one that everyone agrees on. Trump fans were mad at Pence because he resisted the order. That's why some wanted to literally assassinate and hang him. And these committee leaders agree with that fact, but commend Pence for following the law, defending democracy, resisting the order. Unlike some coup plots abroad, which start in secret, as the committee pointed out, Trump talked up this very illegal order in public and in advance.
Despite the fact that the vice president consistently told the president that he did not have and would not want the power to decide the outcome of the presidential election, Donald Trump continued to pressure the vice president, both publicly and privately.
I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states.
All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states so people don't know who won, so they might find a way to claim otherwise or stay in office despite losing. Everyone knows the election is not decided that way. It's decided by the voters. The losing White House participants and incumbents don't decide it, nor the vice president in the losing administration. Mike Pence was in the same spot as then Vice President Gore and then Vice President Nixon when they were candidates for the highest office and lost. Obviously, if they could cancel elections and stay in office, there would be no peaceful transition of power. There would be no democracy. There would only be a dictatorship.